Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. I am the niche fragrance collector, and Penhaligons is a brand that I fell in love with many years ago, and I've been looking forward to doing this lineup. So this is going to be the classics, and next week I will be doing the portraits. Just to let you know, at the end of this particular production, there is a promo that is running with Libertine Parfumerie. Starts today, runs for 2 weeks, and you have a chance to win either Eau the Audacity or Bold Blend. But I'll tell you more at the end of the review. If you look at my first episodes that I released on the NFC channel, you'll see that on the 8th, now the channel started on the 5th, and on the 8th, I actually released like a little trailer of Terrible Teddy. Shortly after, I did a review of Terrible Teddy. Then after that, I did a review on Halfeti. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, I did a review on Roaring Radcliffe. It gives you an idea of my deep love for this brand. And slowly over the years, I've been collecting bit by bit different new inclusions that have been coming out. There are some classics here, and I'm gonna talk to you more about that. What I've fallen in love with is, one is the style of the bottle. That caught my eye instantly. The bow ties, the portraits with their mascots. Then the history behind the brands. There are some brands out there that have an exaggerated history that they love to push, or even a constructed one. Whereas here, and if I look at this particular box here, which is the inimitable William Penhaligon, you can see all the elements that make up the brand. 1870, the Royal Warrant, the first shop that actually started William here, him being the goat, and this fragrance here I'll talk about next week is absolutely divine. So there's this wonderful legacy that's behind the brand, and then it's the fragrances themselves and how they react to me. I find that the library of scents that they have is really diverse. There's something for everybody. You could basically just collect all Penhaligons and you'll be more than satisfied when it comes to their scent profiles. And I do love the way that they perform on skin. Some are quite strong and robust, others are subdued and sublime. And today I'm going to cover that particular lineup, subdued and sublime into the more robust and intense. So throughout the review, what I'm going to do is I will spray so I can explain the top notes, but then I'm also going to let you know of the dry down. I've actually been wearing the fragrances now for about an hour and a half. So they deepen the dry down and give you the sort of evolution on some of these fragrances. Let me begin with Blenheim Bouquet. Now, the reason why I bought this, other than I love the barbershop style of fragrance that it is, but this is now a historical significance. I love the art of perfumery. I've been always, so perfume is more than just beautiful smell. It's really about the expression of the time. And in this case here, 1902 is when this fragrance was released. Was made for the Duke of Marlborough in commemoration of his ancestral home, which was Blenheim Palace. And Blenheim Bouquet is now creating something completely new for its time. Today, it's like, yep, I've smelled this before, or I'm familiar with this style of fragrance. But at the time, this was quite revolutionary. And it's actually made by one of the Penhaligons, one of the family members. What you get on the opening is the most startling lemon, zesty, lime explosion. Look, this is a much more masculine leaning fragrance. Ladies, obviously, there is no such thing as gender when it comes to fragrance. It really is about you as an individual. What do you enjoy? So if you love, as a woman, very zesty, very vibrant fragrances with a slightly masculine, musky touch to it, then this is a great fragrance. For a man, it's an easy wear. It reminds me of going to get like a dry shave. You know, we get lathered up and it's quite a process. And shortly after the shave, they put like a cologne splash on you. And that's what it is on this opening. You get this vibrant citrus, lemon, lime. It's effervescent, it's sunshine, it's over the top, it's exaggerated. But so beautiful. Then as it moves through, you are getting now this wood-like aromatic aspect of it. And it's like a lavender that begins to present itself and come through. And then finally it rests into this very soapy, clean, musky place. For me, I get very clear evolution, as I mentioned. Starts off zesty lemon, vibrant and strong, and then migrates across to this wonderful aromatic woody place and finally rests on that soapy clean. And the soapy clean that I think of mainly is for boys who love to shave with the brush and everything else. It's that soapy smell that you get from as you begin to lather up. You get, depending what you're using, I like using a classic And it does have a very aromatic lavender sort of scent profile to a little bit woody, but the soapiness is definitely coming through. And that's what you get on the full dry down. And would you believe, if you experience this, what you get here, this zesty lemon explosion, and where you land at the end? Two different places. Now, during its time, musks were used, and they were definitely more animal musks. Predominantly, there was a lot of musky elements that men were wearing. The reason why this is such a revolution is that it used now this citrus explosion mixed in with that musk in the dry down and created something quite unique. If you love barbershop style fragrances, that soapy, musky dry down, this is a must. And these days, they don't use animal musks anymore, so you're gonna find that it has a beautiful, clean musk sensation to it, derived more from a plant-based source. This is an easy all year round fragrance. This is something you can wear in winter, it'll bring sunshine, it's something you can wear in summer, and it'll be effervescent and bright. I do get probably about 5 hours maximum on it. It does have very strong push on the opening, has a nice sort of moderate, but it does come down to a low. It doesn't become a body scent, but it's, again, they have stayed true to that original recipe in 1902. It was really more about personal grooming than it was about making a huge statement. And this fragrance respects that original heritage. If you want something that's a lot bolder, I promise that this lineup will have something for you. But this one here, historically important, and also a classic masculine barbershop fragrance. I mentioned before that there's no gender in fragrance. I'm not trying to be hip or cool or progressive or anything of that nature. It's just that fragrance and taste changes over time. Originally, men would wear a lot of florals. This is back in the 1800s, 1900s. Men would wear a lot of florals. And yet now, to have a floral for a man, most men are like, that's for a woman. So the concept of a beautiful smell should just be about a beautiful smell, and then that individual and how you feel about it. The reason why I'm giving you that setup is because when you look at this particular fragrance here, it does give you the impression that it's a little bit more feminine leaning. If you look at the two bow ties, this one has a very sort of sharp and crisp bow tie, whereas this one's got a ribbon, a bit more fanciful, a bit more decorative. Even the name, Luna, something a bit more ethereal. And when I read comments, a lot of women love this fragrance. They are right onto it. Boys, they are gatekeeping it from us, because I would recommend this to you as a great fragrance for a man to wear. If you love your neroli style, those beautiful touch of that white floral, but it's more about the crispness of and the sharpness of the neroli, that bitter orange, that vibrance, that summertime, that spring feel. Luna is spectacular. It brings in this concept, but then gives you a little twist, and it gives it almost like I guess a little bit more of a feminine twist. I get these fruit notes on the opening, and I just got it before as I sprayed. Even though there are no fruits listed, it's just citruses, what I get is this very light, sort of lychee, sort of fruit touch. I get this very light pear-like element to it. And if I'm gonna allocate it to a citrus, I give it like an equal part of orange and a mandarin, you know? So this wonderful, bright, summertime, sunshine feel to it. In the distance, you're just getting a little bit of this white floral coming through, and this crispness, like a vetiver, an earthiness, something grassy and green that's sort of also lingering in the background. The cart on first spray is divine. Then, as it begins to dry down, wrong hand, that's Blenheim. And actually, back on Blenheim, the musky soapiness, this is a crisp white shirt. This is this is a great office scent, but anyway, I just smelt that then, and it gives me good memories, it gives me good feelings. Whereas Luna, for a man to wear, is spectacular. Now, I'll go one more. I had my nephew come over. I normally like having my fragrances laid out on we have like a bench in our home. He saw this, and even though the decorative bow, he picked it up and he sprayed it. His eyes lit up. He's like, "Uncle, where do I buy this? This is amazing. What is this?" And I actually thought, "You like that?" And he's like, "I love this, the crispness of it. I love well, he couldn't define it. I'm putting words into his mouth. He never said neroli or anything of that nature. He just said he loved the crispness, he loved the fruity touch to it, but he loved also this more grassiness it has when the fragrance begins to move around." As I mentioned, this is a beautiful neroli fragrance, but with a twist. That sweet, sort of light fruit on that opening, then this white floral piece or touch to it, and then finally this green vetiver, but with a crisp muskiness to it. It's actually quite divine and totally unique. For me, my brain says neroli because I get a little bit of that bitterness. I do get a little bit of that white floral element, and I do get that fruit touch that I associate. So those pieces I always associate to a beautiful neroli fragrance. For a man to wear, it works. Something that I would recommend that you test and see how you go. As a summertime fragrance, spectacular. So this, when it heats up and the way it pushes on your skin, you begin to sweat, this thing re-emerges. Those early fruit touches begin to sort of re-emerge again and come forward. It does work well in winter, so I have been wearing it. It is cooler here in Australia, but personally, I prefer it as a summer fragrance. It has a lot more push and a lot more sunshine in that landscape. I get easily 6 to 7 hours without a problem, and I find that the push now is in that confident moderate. It has nice sillage and projection, and it has nice sort of push around me. A great fragrance for a man or a woman to enjoy. As I mentioned before, I've been in love with all things Penhaligons for many years now, and one of my very early loves was this glorious fragrance here, Endymion. For me, this was my ultimate confident maker. If I needed to go to a serious meeting, if I needed a boost of energy, if I needed to sort of feel the strength and be the man, be the guy, Endymion was my companion in that scenario. If I was going to suit up, Endymion was my thing that I would wear. Then I got fancy and I forgot it basically. And as the collection grows and as more come in and other brands, slowly, and think of that, scene in Toy Story, some sad music being played, and all of a sudden, slowly, this bottle is going to the back of the shelf. About 6 months ago, I was sort of tidying up and I came across Endymion again, and I thought, oh, that's right. You're my best friend, or you were my best friend. And I thought, you know what, pop, and I sprayed. In that moment, I thought, you are beautiful. Why haven't you been more involved in my life? So I started wearing it again. A little time later, my son came over, and he always loves this guessing game. If he smells something, he goes, oh, let me see. I think I know that one. And in this case here, he's like, oh, I know this. And I'm like, okay, let's see how good you are. He goes, I know this one. Endymion? And I said, yeah, Endymion. And he said, I thought you were too fancy for that. What had happened was my taste had evolved, and I was so much enjoying going into ouds and florals and all this, I guess I was exploring new territories, that something as classic as this, I felt that, well, you know what, I needed to move on to other things, not realizing that this is eternally beautiful. And that's my point that I want to share, that no matter how fancy you think you are, I would recommend test out Endymion, see what it does for you. Because for me, this has been a wonderful renaissance. It's been a wonderful reunion. This morning, and this is a true story, as I was preparing for this, I thought, how can I compare it to something that we see in a common way? Let me just point out, that opening spray, for a guy, it's almost like, it's just classic, beautiful structure that we are instantly drawn to. It's aromatic, it's fresh, it's bright, it reminds us of manhood, it reminds us of our fathers, it reminds me of good times, it reminds me of strength, of happiness. I don't know, it's wild that, and this is what happened when I was cleaning, I sprayed, I'm like, whoa, why have I not enjoyed you more often? Anyway, like I was saying, this morning, as I was coming to the office, I saw a sunrise. And I've seen multiple sunrises. I've seen sunrises around the world, but here, as I was driving to the office, this beautiful sunrise with all its different colors and the pink hues and the purples and the grays and everything else. And I remember stopping and looking at it and lingering and going, well, that is beautiful, and sort of identifying these different colors. How many times have I seen a sunrise? And yet it's still beautiful and intriguing to me, and it pulls my attention. This is Endymion. So my point to you, no matter how fancy you are, I would recommend test out Endymion, put it on skin and see what it does for you, because it's one of those classics that will be around for many years to come. What I love is that classic opening of that barbershop, aromatic, bright, invigorating. There's a touch of something else happening, and then as it begins to dry down, it goes into a different direction. And I think this is what keeps the fragrance interesting and intriguing. especially for someone who is so fancy like I am, to all of a sudden to still make me feel like there is something new for me to enjoy. And what I get is this wonderful, spicy, woody aspect to it, but now with this like a dirty, slightly dirty, leathery effect that comes through. It's not a leather fragrance, but it does have like this other something going on in the background, and it's divine. I know that there is one of the classic notes that it boasts to have is coffee. I never detect that coffee note. For me, coffee has a very Arabica, sort of very robust and smoky. I don't get that, but I'm gonna say maybe that's what it is, that coffee mixed in with some other sort of notes in there that gives it this twist that creates the intrigue. I also find that the fragrance continues to stand up when it comes to being a confident maker. I get 6+ hours without a problem. It's something that I still love to suit up in. So if I'm going to a meeting or if I'm going to somewhere formal where I wanna be approachable, then Endymion is a beautiful companion when it comes to that. The word Endymion is actually named after the son of Zeus, eternally beautiful because he was put to sleep basically, and he became the symbol of the moon. And so you see on the bottle that you have all these elements in here. It's been around for quite a while. It's one of the classics in the collection, and I definitely recommend it as something for you to explore and test out as an eternal classic. This next one, the marketing and the storyline behind it does give it that sort of female sort of lean to it. Boys, this is another hidden gem that you can enjoy. I have been banging on about Daphne's Bouquet and how much I love wearing it. Originally, I bought this for my wife, Sandra. There were two fragrances that came out at the same time. One was The Cut. The marketing on that was the next evolution on Sartorial. Yes, it's fantastic as a beautiful fougere masculine fragrance. And this one here was, you know, Daphne's Bouquet. It's all about a celebration of the Daphne flower. And I thought this would be a beautiful fragrance for my wife. She does love these mossy, sort of floral notes in the fragrance. Have a look at this episode here. I go into a lot more detail. How is it that I began to wear it? I've been loving the scent profile of this fragrance when my wife wears it, that one day I thought, what if I wore it? And the rest is history. Watch that episode and you'll get the full story. But this is an incredibly glorious fragrance for a man or a woman to wear. The key is this: if you love mossy, green notes, a touch of florals, like a spring morning walking through a garden, and that sort of effervescent smell that's around you, then this fragrance here hits the mark. On that opening, you're getting a touch of fruit, and it's like a gin-like quality to it. It has a freshness in there. It does move into that floral greenness, and then it dries down to a mossy, wonderful place. On opening, instantly ensnaring. Has great presence. It's springtime. The moment you smell this, I mean, all I can see, I mean, it's almost like a commercial. Regardless of how cloudy the day is, you spray that and just all of a sudden the sun begins to emerge, clouds part, blue sky, birds are singing, flowers are growing instantly, and this is what this thing does. That was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? But that's what, as I was preparing, I promise, as I spraying, and I'm like, yep, I can see spring. I am a very visual person. The way I sort of see my world is very much in movies and color and things like that. I dream in color. And so, yeah, so for me, fragrances, I can see these things sort of begin to emerge. And this is what it is for me. It's walking through a beautiful park. We have a beautiful park here in Melbourne called the Botanical Gardens. And it is the Botanical Gardens in springtime. It's a fun fragrance to wear. Now, recently I had a gentleman who reached out to me and said, I bought Daphne's Bouquet and I feel like it's a little bit feminine leaning. I feel like I'm wearing a feminine fragrance. There is florals in here, so just be aware of that. But personally, I wouldn't overthink it too much. I would put it on skin. I would recommend you test. I would put it on skin, let it do its thing. Try not to think too much about, does it have flowers, does it not flowers? If it does have flowers, it's not a big deal. As I said, years ago, men would wear floral fragrances. That's what was the norm in that time. So to wear a floral fragrance, it's just marketing telling you that you can or you cannot. If it works for you, you should then test it out. What I love about this fragrance too is its evolution, where it begins and how it moves through. It does open with that wonderful spring-like feel to it. A touch fruity, but sunshine is coming through. It migrates to a beautiful floral green. So it doesn't go into any soft florals or bouquets of roses or anything of that nature. There is a green touch to it. And finally, when it dries down, it does have a mossy touch. Think of a brook and water running by it and its greenness. That's the visuals that I get as this fragrance transition. I've had it here for about an hour and a half. And I am getting that wonderful floral green touch. It actually moves even further down into the mossy greenness as it begins to dry down even further. I get 9 hours without a problem. I can detect it very comfortably in the air. Those around me can easily detect it. And I do get wonderful push and sillage from the fragrance. Because this has become my wife's favorite, you can see how hard this has been hit. It's now become my favorite too. This is a fragrance that both of us have been wearing. When I'm smelling it on her, when she's wearing it, I'm getting a much more floral bouquet. When I'm wearing it, the comments that I get from Sandra is that it's a lot more green, that there's a more green, almost musky element to the dry down of the fragrance. So boys, spray it, leave it, and see what those around you think of it. It's a great new inclusion, one that I would highly recommend. The next one is now me on almost addictive. I just cannot get enough of this next fragrance. I did do a review, talked about Bold Blend, which is a beautiful fragrance, an easy wear, very comfortable for a man, but I recommend this. This is Eau the Audacity, and if you love incense, if you love vanilla, then this is the marriage of these two elements that creates just sublime, just harmony. There is such beauty in the scent profile of this fragrance here. I do love the incense note, and there's another great fragrance which is now a rose and an incense, which is Rose Incense by Amouage. I love that fragrance, but this has become now my second favorite combination of incense with something else, in this case vanilla. And on that spray, this is potent. This has bones. This really, like, it wants to live. The moment you spray, it just accelerates in the air, lives on you. It creates a wonderful trail. It makes you, or makes me happy. It grounds me. It brings calmness to my mind. There is a sublime, gentle, beautiful touch to the fragrance. For me, the evolution is divine. Each stage is just a joy to experience. On that opening, I do get a very vanilla dessert, and in particular, a vanilla cake. There's a memory linked into that. Again, that video I discuss more, but it's a wonderful, moist vanilla cake with like a sugary top. It then migrates across to this beautiful incense-like, but more papyrus. So this dry papyrus sort of sensation to it. And finally, it does rest in a wonderful, sweet incense place. That opening is vanilla. Vanilla and this almost Moorish effect to the fragrance, but then when it dries down, so I'm now, again, the evolution is quite prolonged and pronounced. I'm in that dry papyrus place. The incense is present, but there's other softer elements coming through, and finally it does rest in this wonderful sweet vanilla incense place. Not that it's skin-like, but it has this caress to it. It's just gorgeous. I find that you get 10 to 12 hours without a problem. The reality is you'll wake up in the morning smelling the fragrance on you. It does have this great presence. And then when it comes to its push and its projection, you're going to get a massive push on this. It won't go through walls, so it's not like something you step in and all of a sudden, you know, like a nuclear of fragrance that goes out. But it does have great push and range around you that people around you will be able to pick up this fragrance without a problem. I mentioned that early in the channel. I did a review on Halfeti. I actually watched it. It's terrible. It's terrible in the sense that you can see my love for it. You can see my admiration for the fragrance, and it's one that I've always loved since the very beginning. This is actually my second bottle, by the way, so it gives you an idea of, this is one that is always available, always on repeat. But that review, it could have been better. I'm hoping that if you stack up this review versus that review, that this one's that I've improved, basically, is what I'm saying. I think what it was about that particular episode was I really went into the science project of it, you know, opening notes here and heart notes are there and base notes are this. And rather than really, what is this fragrance doing? Because one thing I have discovered about Halfeti is that it is greater than the sum of its parts. And that opening that I just smelled there is intoxicating. This has become a global hit. And even though you are aware of it, it's one that I would highly recommend. Just test it out. If you're, sometimes I get, not snobbish, but I'm like, oh no, everyone's talking about that, I'm not gonna check it out. But it's one of those things where you just, there's a reason for the hype. Find out for yourself. If you haven't experienced it yet, put it on skin, see what it does, because it's actually quite a unique fragrance. And it's one that if you like those fragrances that are bold and have presence and have push and have longevity, Halfeti covers all those bases. But what is it? What are we smelling here? Let's forget the science experiment. And what I'm drawn to is a mixture of 3 points. One, I do get a floral. I do get this tinge of a rose sort of dancing around, but it's not a very clear rose. It's not like take Radical Rose where it's very apparent. Here I have a rose, whereas here there's a floral note that seems to dance around. The rose is there, but there's other things also balancing through. The second thing that I get is like a boozy effect. I get this woody, rum, whiskey. There's a plum is another thought that comes to my mind. So something dark fruit. There is a sweet boozy effect that comes through. And the final one for me is spices. And I get these wonderful, like a cinnamon bark or I'm gonna say nutmeg, but nutmeg can sometimes be a little bit sort of acrid or a little bit sort of sour. And here it's always appealing. The one thing that I find that Halfeti does really well is, even though you can't quite define it, go, this is what it is, unlike these others where you know, this barbershop and there's a neroli. What Halfeti does is, it's almost like all the beautiful things are combined together to create harmony and create just a gorgeous allure that just works. There is things like oud. And the interesting thing is, even though I can see it listed as a note, I don't get it. I do get something different in the dry down, but I don't necessarily get oud. I've been wearing it now again actually I've been wearing it longer because this was now the fragrance of the day. And so probably about 2 hours now. And whilst it holds those original core elements that I just explained, which is the floral, the sweet sort of woody, boozy effect, and then this spices that are coming through, what I now get is a deeper, more patchouli-like aspect to it. And that could be the oud that's in that base. But I get this sort of dry, earthy, almost camphorous, mixed in with the spices, with the rose, and then this sort of plum-like element to the fragrance. I do get like a cedar-like element to it too. Sorry, that probably looks weird, but it just, I want to inhale the fragrance. It's one that I know. So when I smell Halfeti, I'm like, when I smell it in the air, if I smell it on others, if I walk into a store, I'm detecting Halfeti. There is a very pronounced nature to this particular fragrance. It's something that has, as I mentioned, great longevity. You're going to get 10, 12, 24 hours. I was wearing it yesterday, and I woke up this morning smelling Halfeti on my skin. It does have great push. You're now in that very confident, moderate into high, and you'll find that those around you will detect this beautiful fragrance. It is super versatile. You can wear this as a dress up. You can wear it as a dress down, casual. It's something that a man or a woman can wear without a problem. The last part to this, and in that episode, I mentioned, you know, the story behind it is Halfeti. It's about a black rose that's found in the town of Halfeti in Turkey. True, not true, I don't know. Turns out 100% true. I'm now seeing footage of this beautiful black rose that's grown in the region. It has a deep darkness because of the soil and also the water that goes into the flower. And it creates this dark tinge to the flower, which is, I think, what is being done here. It's a rose, but it's more than just the rose. It's all these spicy, dark, woody elements that is surrounding this particular floral and creating a sublime fragrance that needs to be tried out. One that I would highly recommend. And because of its success, it actually created further iterations. Now this one here, I have not sprayed. I haven't sprayed it on me because this is Halfeti Leather, and this now, oud, I know it says leather, but for me, the oud is popping on this fragrance. I almost feel like what's happened here is that it's, there it is, boom, that dry leather, oudy sensation to the fragrance. The woodiness has really been accelerated. And now I get even a deeper plum, dark fruit note, really sort of deep and rich and molasses-like. I was wearing this on the other arm. I will spray this actually. Let me see where I've got some. Nope. I'm covered in perfume. Nope. Okay. Ooh. I'm covered in perfume. I'm gonna have to I don't know where I'm gonna spray this. I'm just gonna put it over the top of something else. Yeah, the moment you spray this, everything else becomes redundant. Everything gets washed out because now Halfeti Leather is in the house. So there it is. You get, for me, the oud really pops forward. I mean, you get that slightly leathery, gasoline-like strength from the actual opening. The rose is present, but it's a lot darker. You are getting a floral aspect, but there is a deepness in that floral as opposed to what Halfeti does, which now is a balance between all these things. It's a lot more subtle in its profile, whereas Halfeti Leather, it's really about pushing forward the darkness of the actual fragrance. I was wearing it yesterday, and in the deep dry down, it was 100% that oud was coming through. Oud with a very dark leather, but not to the point, so there's another great fragrance called Couillon, and that is oud and leather and, you know, intensity animalic. Whereas here, I feel like the animalic nature has been pulled back. You are getting the robust darkness of those particular notes, but not necessarily the dirty animalic aspect of it. And it could be I guess the sweetness, the early plum note. I know that there is the rose note in there. So maybe these particular elements are sort of taming it and pulling it back, but not making it so animalic, but keeping the darkness in place. I find that you're getting 12 plus hours without a problem. I'm gonna go 24 when it comes to Halfeti Leather, and then you have enormous projection. This is a monster. This is a statement maker, meaning that if you're now wanting to go to a large area and you really want to project, I find that Halfeti Leather is definitely a master for that. Whereas if you want something a bit more subtle, a bit more sublime, but definitely has presence and commands attention, then the regular Halfeti is a brilliant inclusion for your collection too. So there you have it, 7 gorgeous fragrances from Penhaligons. There are the classics, then there are some new inclusions. Each one of them are divine and something quite special. If you haven't tested out Eau the Audacity, please, I strongly recommend it. If you like vanilla and incense together, it's just a masterpiece. As I mentioned, Libertine Parfumerie are being very gracious and doing a promo. All you got to do is jump on the website, use the code NFCPENH, spend $299, and you'll go into the draw to win either Eau the Audacity or Bold Blend. Both of them are valued over $450, and it's a wonderful price. And that's across the whole website. So you can use that code again and again and go into the draw multiple times to get more chances to win. Good luck, everyone. If you had a chance to experience these, I'd love to hear your comments or give me your recommendations on some Penhaligons that you absolutely adore. Next week, it will be all about the portraits. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.